Valentine's Day, in the small, snow-covered town of Whitewood, was always a quiet affair. But this year, a sense of unease hung in the air, like a thick fog that refused to lift. My name is Anna, and I was about to discover the dark heart that beat beneath Whitewood's serene exterior. The day began with an anonymous Valentine's card slid under my door, its edges stained with what looked disturbingly like dried blood. The message inside was written in an elegant, looping script. Meet me at the old Whitewood Bridge at midnight. Together, we'll cross into forever. Chilled, I tossed the card aside, dismissing it as a tasteless prank. As dusk fell, curiosity overcame my initial apprehension. The bridge, a forgotten relic from a bygone era, stood at the edge of town, its once sturdy frame now succumbing to the relentless embrace of ivy and time. Legends whispered of a young couple who, on a Valentine's night long ago, had leaped from its railings, their love story ending in tragedy rather than celebration. I arrived as the clock tolled 12, the moon casting an eerie glow over the snow-blanketed landscape. The bridge loomed before me, its silhouette a dark stain against the night sky. A figure emerged from the shadows, dressed in a long, flowing gown that seemed to shimmer in the moonlight. It was a woman, her face obscured by a veil of lace. "Who are you?" I asked, my voice betraying a hint of fear. "Someone who has waited for you," she replied, her voice a haunting melody that seemed to resonate with the sorrow of the ages. I took a step back, my instincts screaming for me to flee, but I was rooted to the spot, mesmerized by her presence. "Come," she beckoned, extending a hand that was as pale as the moonlight. "Join me, and we will be together forever." I felt an inexplicable pull towards her, a longing that filled the void of loneliness that had become my constant companion since moving to Whitewood. Yet, as I moved closer, a sense of dread settled over me, a cold whisper in my mind that warned of danger. The woman lifted her veil, revealing a face of ethereal beauty. But her eyes were hollow, voids of despair that seemed to consume the light around her. "Do not fear," she whispered. "Embrace your destiny." I realized then that she was not of this world, but a spirit bound to the bridge, her tragic fate compelling her to lure others to join her in her eternal sorrow. "No," I whispered, finding the strength to resist. "I won't join you." Anguish contorted her features, and she let out a scream that pierced the night, a sound so filled with pain and rage that it seemed to shake the very foundations of the earth. The ground beneath my feet trembled, and the air grew thick with a miasma of despair. I turned to run, but the snow around me had turned to a sludge that clung to my feet, dragging me down. The woman advanced, her form now a swirling mass of shadows, her wails a cacophony that threatened to tear apart my sanity. In a desperate bid for freedom, I reached into my pocket and pulled out the Valentine's card, the only link to this nightmare. With all the strength I could muster, I tore it to pieces, the fragments carried away by the wind. The effect was instantaneous. The woman let out one final, ear-piercing shriek before dissolving into the night, her presence evaporating like mist under the rising sun. The ground solidified beneath my feet, and the oppressive atmosphere lifted, leaving behind only the silent, snow-covered bridge. I stumbled back to town, my mind reeling from the encounter. The townsfolk listened to my tale with a mixture of skepticism and fear, but I could see in their eyes that they knew of the bridge's dark legacy. Valentine's Day in Whitewood was never the same again. The bridge was torn down, its remnants buried deep beneath the earth, in an attempt to sever the connection to the otherworldly forces that had been awakened. But every year, as Valentine's Day approaches, a sense of unease returns to Whitewood, a reminder of the night when love and horror intertwined on the old bridge, and I was nearly lost to the embrace of a love that transcended death itself.
Valentine's Day in the quaint town of Eldridge was unlike any other, with its century-old tradition that both fascinated and terrified me. My name is Clara, a writer drawn to the peculiar and the macabre, and I was about to uncover a story that would haunt me forever. Eldridge celebrated the midnight courtship, a ritual where, at the stroke of midnight, the town's statue of St. Valentine supposedly chose two souls to unite in eternal love. This year, driven by a blend of curiosity and skepticism, I decided to witness it firsthand. As the town clock began its chime, marking the approach of midnight, a thick fog rolled in, shrouding the town square and its ancient statue in a ghostly veil. The air was charged with anticipation, or perhaps it was fear, as the townsfolk gathered around, their faces barely visible in the dim light. The final chime echoed, and a hush fell over the crowd. The fog seemed to pulsate, and for a moment, I felt a chill that went beyond the cold, a premonition of something sinister. Then, amidst the silence, a whisper, soft and seductive, called my name. Clara. I turned, searching for the source, but saw only the shifting shapes of the fog. Again, my name, closer now, compelling me to step forward, away from the safety of the crowd. I found myself at the base of the statue, its features obscured by the mist, yet I could feel its gaze upon me. "Who's there?" I demanded, my voice betraying my fear. "It's me, Clara," a familiar voice replied, one that tugged at the strings of my heart. It was Alex, my love who had vanished without a trace last Valentine's Day, leaving only a note that spoke of an impossible choice and a love that transcended time. Tears filled my eyes as I peered into the fog, and there he stood, as real as the day he disappeared, his hand outstretched. "Join me, Clara. Our love was chosen by St. Valentine himself. We can be together, but you must come now." The terror and mystery of the moment paralyzed me. Part of me yearned to leap into his arms, to reclaim the love I thought lost. But another part screamed that this was wrong, a trick of the fog and the night. "Why now, Alex? Why here?" I asked, desperation lacing my words. "The midnight courtship is not just a tradition. It's a gateway, Clara. One night a year, the veil between worlds thins, and those chosen by the statue can cross over. But the choice must be made willingly," he explained, his voice a melody that threatened to drown my doubts. The fog swirled more intensely around us, and I could feel the statue's presence, an ancient force watching, waiting for my decision. The townsfolk's whispers became a distant murmur, irrelevant to the choice that lay before me. I reached out, my fingers inches from his, when a sudden scream pierced the night. The fog cleared momentarily, revealing not Alex, but a grotesque figure, its face a mask of sorrow and rage. The townsfolk, now visible, were frozen in terror, their eyes fixed on the statue, which seemed to come alive under the moonlight. In that instant, clarity shattered my delusion. The midnight courtship was no romantic tradition, but a sinister pact, a sacrifice of love to whatever entity resided within the statue. Alex's disappearance, the note, it was all part of this macabre ritual. With every ounce of strength, I pulled back, my heart breaking anew as the figure in the fog reached for me with a howl of despair. I stumbled backward, my gaze locked on the statue, which now seemed to mock my pain with its silent stone smile. The fog enveloped everything once more, and when it lifted, I was alone in the town square, the first rays of dawn casting long shadows. The townsfolk were gone, their earlier presence now a question in my mind. I left Eldridge that day, my heart heavy with the knowledge of the midnight courtship's true nature. The mystery and terror of that night lingered, a constant whisper in my mind that sometimes love could be a gateway to something far darker. The story of Eldridge's Valentine's tradition became the subject of my next novel, a tale of love, mystery, and terror that I hoped would serve as a warning. For in the pursuit of eternal love, one must be wary of the shadows that lurk just beyond the reach of the heart.